Assalamu alaikum and Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, in the previous lecture, we discussed different types of feedback in electronic circuits. So, we had four types of feedback. One was the voltage series feedback, which is the dominant type of feedback in practical electronic circuits. Then we had the voltage shunt feedback, then the current series feedback, and finally the current shunt feedback. And we also discussed the example of feedback in electronic circuits. So in today's lecture first we will have an additional example of feedback in electronic circuit, and afterwards we discuss a very important issue, and that is the issue of stability in electronic circuits with feedback. So this is a very important issue because if you want to use a circuit as an amplifier, then we have to ensure that it remains stable under all conditions. On the other hand, if the circuit is unstable, then it cannot be used as an amplifier. It can only be used as an oscillator. In fact, in oscillators we deliberately introduce instability so that we can have oscillation. So first let's discuss another example of voltage series feedback. And on this slide you can see an FET based voltage follower circuit. So you have the input at the gate. So when you have input at the gate, so VG is basically equal to Vs, whereas the output is from the source terminal. So V0 is basically the voltage at the source. Now the actual voltage which determines the output of the FET is the voltage between the gate and source terminal, as is the case with most of the FET circuits. So therefore VGS is Vi. That is, if you remember the block diagram for voltage series feedback circuits, so corresponding to that diagram, the voltage at the gate terminal is Vs, whereas the voltage across the gate and source terminals, that is VGS, is Vi. And you have an inbuilt feedback from the output voltage V0, which we can see later in the lecture, inshallah. So this is the basic circuit of a voltage follower circuit of a voltage follower. So the input to the gate terminal is Vg, and this is equal to the source voltage Vs. So basically Vg is equal to Vs for our case. So now let's do some basic derivations. So our starting equation, V0 is equal to IDS into Rs, as you can uh, see by looking at the circuit diagram. Then we put the expression for IDS, which is equal to Gm into Vgs, and this gives us V0 equal to Gm/Rs Vgs. Now, as we said earlier, Vgs is the input to the amplifier block, because this is the voltage that controls the behavior of the FET transistor. So we equate VGS with VI. So we get V naught equal to GMRS VI, or V naught equal to A times VI. So A is the amplifier gain without feedback, and this A is equal to GM into RS, whereas VI is equal to VGS. Uh, and Vs is equal to Vg, that is the voltage at the gate terminal of the FET amplifier. So here you can see the circuit, and here you can clearly see that V0 is indeed equal to IDS into RS. So now let's have a closer look at Vi, which is equal to VGS. Now VGS is equal to Vs minus V0, because V0 is the voltage at the source terminal. So now we have the situation that at the gate terminal the voltage is equal to Vs, the source voltage, whereas at the source terminal the voltage is equal to the output voltage. So we get Vi is equal to Vs minus V0. Now what we can do, we can put beta equal to 1, and this gives us the equation Vi is equal to Vs minus Vf, which is the case for voltage series feedback. So this indeed proves that we have voltage series feedback. So Vi is equal to Vs minus Vf, and the gain of the feedback block is 1. And we know that if the open loop gain is high enough, then closed loop gain or gain with feedback is 1 over beta. So the gain will be 1 over beta, which is 1. So we have indeed unity gain. So we have indeed a voltage follower circuit here. So now we have the equation V naught is equal to GMRS VGS, or we can say V naught is equal to A times VGS, where A is equal to GM into RS. And a reminder, GM is the transconductance of the FET amplifier, which will depend on the characteristic of the FET amplifier and the biasing condition. So we have already studied the equation for GM in terms of pinch off voltage, IDSS, and VGSQ, that is the Q point gate to source voltage. And another point, all the voltages that we are discussing in this derivation are the small signal AC voltages. We are not discussing the total voltage or the DC voltage. So all the voltages in this derivation are the small signal voltages or the AC voltages. So let's proceed further. So we then substitute VGS by VGS is equal to VG minus V naught, because V naught is the voltage at the source terminal, and then we replace Vg by Vs, because Vs is the voltage at the gate terminal. So Vs and Vg, they are basically the same voltages. So when we replace VGS by using the equation, VGS is equal to Vs minus V naught. So this gives us the equation V naught is equal to Gm Rs into Vs minus Gm Rs into V naught. There is one point which may be confusing. We are using the subscript small gs for VGS, that is VGS. So you might be thinking that it should be Vg minus Vs. But the problem is that in the context in which we have our discussion right now, the term the variable Vs is reserved for the source voltage that is applied to the entire circuit, whereas the Vs in the context of FET is the voltage at the source terminal. So this is a bit confusing. So just keep this point in mind that Vs in our discussion in this lecture means the source voltage, whereas we are using the subscript VGS for the voltage between gate and source terminal, because this is how it is written in FET terminology. So please note this point that VGS would mean the voltage at the gate terminal minus voltage at the source terminal. And in this discussion we are not labeling the voltage at the source terminal as V subscript S. Please note this point. We are not labeling the voltage at the source terminal as V subscript S, because this symbol has been reserved for the source voltage which we apply at the input of the circuit. So the solution is easy, because the voltage at the source terminal is same as the output voltage. You are taking output from the source terminal. So the voltage at the source terminal is V0. So therefore VGS would be equal to Vg minus V0. So please keep this point in mind. And then we go further. We take the terms with V0 on the left side. So we get V0 into 1 plus GMRS equal to GMRS into Vs, and then we rearrange it. So we get V0 into 1 plus beta A is equal to AVS, or we can say that V0 is equal to A divided by 1 plus beta A into Vs. So V0 will be equal to A divided by 1 plus beta A into Vs, and here A is equal to GMRS and beta is equal to 1. So this we have already discussed that beta is equal to 1 because the feedback voltage is simply equal to V0. V0 itself is acting as the feedback voltage without any scaling. That we discussed in the previous slide. So beta is equal to 1 and A is equal to GMRS. And then we have the gain without feedback, which is A divided by 1 plus beta A. So this is approximately equal to 1 over beta, or we can say that AF, which is the gain with feedback, is equal to 1. And this is what we have in voltage forward circuit. So in this slide we just derived the equation for gain with feedback from the expression of A and beta. We haven't derived the gain with feedback directly. So for this we move to next slide. So here we have more direct derivation. So again the equation is the starting equation is the same. V0 is equal to GMRS into VGS, and then we put Vg equal to Vs, and the voltage at the source terminal is equal to V0. So VGS is equal to Vs minus V0, which is also equal to Vi. So then we get V0 into 1 plus GMRS is equal to GMRS into Vs, and finally we get the equation for V0, which is GMRS divided by 1 plus GMRS. Now if this gain GM into RS, if you remember this is equal to A, is much greater than 1, then V0 simply become equal to Vs. So we have unity gain. Then we come to the issue of amplifier stability, because we need to be sure that our amplifier is stable. So when the amplifier circuit is stable, we have operation as amplifier. When the amplifier is unstable, we have operation as oscillator. And this can be seen from the equation for the gain with feedback. So if beta A is equal to -1, the gain goes to infinity, so we basically have an unstable operation. The output actually does not become equal to infinity. What happens is that then the A becomes lower due to saturation effect, which we will discuss shortly, inshallah. But the point is that when this happens, when the expression for the gain with feedback become undetermined due to beta A being equal to -1 and thus the denominator becoming equal to 0, when this happens, the circuit no longer works as an amplifier. It's act like an either as an oscillator or as a noise source. So it will depend. If there is a tuning circuit which tune the circuit to a specific frequency, then we have an oscillator. Otherwise the circuit will act like a noise source. So to analyze the stability of an amplifier, we start with the Nyquist plot, and then we have a criteria which we call Nyquist criteria, which relates to this plot. So the procedure for Nyquist plot is that uh, you start from the lowest frequency and then increase the frequency steps until you reach the highest frequency, and at each frequency you calculate the value of beta A. For example, you start with FL, the lowest frequency, you calculate the value of beta A and then you plot it on or mark it on the complex plane, as you can see in this figure as well. Then you go to a slightly higher frequency, let's say it's F1, calculate the beta A and then mark it on the complex plane. Then you again uh, compute the beta A at a frequency which is higher than F1 and mark it on complex plane. Then similarly another frequency F3 which is higher than F2, and then a frequency which is higher than F3, that is F4, and finally you reach the highest frequency that you are going to encounter in your circuit and you calculate the value of beta A and mark it on the complex plane. So now you have several points on the complex plane, so you join it using a curve. So the curve that you get is called the Nyquist curve. This procedure is similar to the root locus plot that you have in control theory. But there the variable is the gain k of the amplifier. So you increase the gain k and you calculate the roots and then join all the points together. Here the variable is frequency. So you calculate beta A uh, at each frequency between FL and FH, and finally join the curve to get the Nyquist plot. So here the procedure in more detail. Start from FL. So your first frequency F0 is equal to FL. Compute beta A and mark it on the complex plane. Then you have F1, so you calculate beta A at F1, mark it on the complex plane. Then at F2, then at F3, and at F4, then at F5. So you and then FH, which is equal to F5. So you compute beta A at F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. You can have even more points between F0 and FH. It depends on you. And at each frequency point you calculate the value of beta A, that is the complex value of beta A. You mark it on this complex plane, then you join all these points to get the Nyquist curve. So once you have this Nyquist plot, uh, what to do with it? So the basic criteria is same. If the beta A is equal to -1, you have unstable operation. The circuit is acting either as an oscillator or as a noise source. If beta A never becomes equal to -1, the circuit is stable and you have operation as amplifier. So for stability, beta A should never be equal to -1. This is the basic Nyquist criteria. So in terms of complex number, we say that uh, the beta A should never be equal to -1, 0. These are the coordinates of beta A on complex plane. So -1 in complex number is equal to -1 plus 0j. So that's why we represent -1 by -1 comma 0. So this is basically the real and imaginary components of beta A. So when this representation imaginary and real components, so real component is -1 and imaginary component is 0. This is for the case when beta A is equal to -1. So we can say in terms of this complex plane that beta A should never be represented by the point -1 comma 0. In polar form, we say that beta A should not have the magnitude of 1 and phase of 180 degree at the same time, because in polar form -1 is equivalent to having magnitude of 1 and phase of 180 degree in the context of complex numbers. You can also see it on this graph that -1 is equivalent to the coordinate point -1 comma 0, or in polar form it is magnitude of -1 and phase of 180 degree. So the Nyquist criteria is that the point -10, or the point where the magnitude is 1 and phase is 180 degree, should never lie inside or on the Nyquist curve. So it is obvious why it should never lie on the Nyquist curve, because if it lies on the Nyquist curve, it means that at certain frequency beta A will become equal to -1 and the system will become unstable. But uh, why not inside the curve? uh, why the system will be unstable if the point lie inside the curve? Because apparently if the point does not lie on the curve but inside the curve, the beta A never becomes equal to -1. So why we are saying that even in this condition the amplifier will be unstable? To answer this question, we need to explore this point further. So here is the criteria that point -10 should never lie on or inside the curve. So here you can see two figures. One is the example of a stable system where point -10 lies outside the Nyquist curve, and the other is an unstable system where the point -10 lies inside the Nyquist curve. So the question still remains, what's wrong with having -10 inside the curve? Because inside, if it does not lie on the curve, then apparently beta A never becomes equal to -1. So the answer comes from the phenomena of saturation. So here on this slide you can see the graph of output voltage versus input voltage, and here we are talking about the magnitudes. So magnitude of V0 versus magnitude of Vi. So we have the normal linear region where V0 is simply equal to A times Vi. So we have a linear relationship and we have a straight line representing the curve. But the point is that the output of an amplifier cannot increase indefinitely. There is a maximum voltage that an amplifier can provide, and normally it's approximately equal to the supply voltage. So what happens if you keep on increasing Vi? As you increase the Vi, the output of the amplifier starts to saturate because there is a maximum limit to the output of the amplifier. We discussed this issue in the op amps as well. So the actual curve will look something like this, as you can see on this graph. So what happens then? The gain becomes less than A0. So what is A0? A0 here is the gain in the linear region. So A0 is the gain in the linear region. So it becomes, the actual gain becomes less than A0. So here you can see the graph of magnitude of A versus Vi. So in the linear region, the gain is constant, it's equal to A0, and as the voltage increases above certain threshold, the gain starts to drop. Because how do we define gain? Gain is defined as the derivative of V0 with respect to Vi. And as you can remember from the previous graph, in saturation the slope decreases and ultimately it becomes a horizontal line. So derivative is simply slope. So we can say that the small signal gain A is simply the slope of the curve between V0 and Vi. So if you have a graph of V0 versus Vi magnitude, so the slope of this curve will give you the magnitude of small signal gain A. So the small signal gain A starts to drop in saturation region. So what it has to do with the Nyquist curve? The answer comes from here. As the magnitude of A drops, the magnitude of beta A will drop as well. Because if you remember, the magnitude of product of two complex number is equal to product of their magnitude. So the magnitude of beta A will be equal to magnitude of beta into magnitude of A. So magnitude of beta remains constant, but magnitude of A decreases as Vi increases. So the magnitude of beta A will drop outside the linear region. So the magnitude of beta A will drop in the saturation region. So what consequence it has for the Nyquist curve? So when we calculate the Nyquist curve, we are assuming that the gain of the amplifier stage is A0. We are not considering saturation effect. Now the saturation does not change the angle because it simply reduces the magnitude of A. Now this means that magnitude this means that the magnitude of beta A drops, but the angle of beta A remains the same. So how we can describe this in geometric terms, that if point A represent the value of beta A in the linear region when we don't have saturation, then as the magnitude of A drops, the magnitude of beta A will start to decrease, but the angle remain the same. So basically the actual point representing beta A will move towards right, towards the origin. That is, the magnitude of beta A will decrease, but the angle remains same. Or we can say that under this scenario, beta A can take any value lying on the line OA. So beta A can have any value represented by a point lying on line OA, that is having the same angle as the original point when saturation effect is not considered, but having a smaller magnitude. And the same is true for any point on this curve. So now when we have the situation when beta A can take any value with angle equal to the angle of a point on this curve, and with magnitude which is either equal to the magnitude of point on this curve or less than that, So what is so how we can then summarize it? Then we can say that beta A can take any value inside the curve, inside this curve, because if we combine all these points which have the same angle as the point lying on this curve but with magnitude equal to or smaller than the magnitude of point on this curve, then this covers the entire area inside this curve. So this means that beta A can potentially take any value inside the curve. So what does this mean? That if beta A can take any value inside this curve, then minus 1 0 should not lie inside this curve, because under if minus 1 0 point lies inside the curve, then beta A can become equal to this equal to minus 1 comma 0, and system can become unstable. Now if the minus 1 0 point lie outside the curve, then beta A can never become equal to minus 1 0, because we said earlier that beta A can take any value where the angle is equal to the angle of a point lying on this curve, but magnitude which is either equal to or smaller uh, than a point lying on this Nyquist curve. So on this diagram it means that beta A can take any value on the line OA, but as now minus 1 0 is out, does not lie on this line. If minus 1 0 was inside this curve, then minus 1 0 would have been on the line OA, and beta A could potentially become equal to it. But now minus 1 0 lies outside this curve, so beta A can never become equal to minus 1 0, and system is stable. So this is the crux of the Nyquist criteria, that is minus 1 0 point should never lie inside the Nyquist curve. This is the unstable case. So in unstable case, what happens? Initially you are at point A. Beta A is equal to the point represented by A. Then we have the saturation effect. As the saturation takes effect, the magnitude of A starts to drop, and as the magnitude of A starts to drop, beta A starts to move towards the right as its magnitude decreases, and finally it crosses or reaches point minus 1 0, and the system becomes unstable and the circuit starts to oscillate either at a given frequency or randomly. So in the former case, where you have a tuned circuit attached to it, it will act like as an oscillator, otherwise it will act like a noise source. So how we can summarize the Nyquist criteria, which was the topic of our discussion in this lecture? So the Nyquist criteria can be summarized as that the point minus 1 0 should lie outside the Nyquist curve. That is, the point minus 1 0 should not lie on or inside the Nyquist curve. So this is the Nyquist criteria for stability of amplifiers. So this ends our discussion for today. So in the next lecture we will discuss gain margin and then phase margin, and also then we will have introduction to the oscillators. So that's it for today. Wish you good luck and Khuda Hafiz.